Guiding Principles of Infant and Toddler Care and Education. Decades of research and theory have produced some general guiding principles that are an important starting place for understanding infant and toddler care and education. Principle number 1. Children are active participants in shaping their own development. Infants and toddlers seek out information from their environments and social partners through eye gaze, communication, language, physical touches, and the manual manipulation of objects. Specific types of information attract infants' attention and provide unique access into helping them understand how the world works. For example, infants prefer to listen to infant-directed language, and this type of language exposure from adults helps infants acquire language. A great example of how active participation shapes personal development comes from motor development. Even after toddlers begin to walk, there is still much more improvement needed to walk efficiently. In fact, toddlers take an average of 2,368 steps each hour and also fall an average of 17 times. Actively engaging in the practice of walking shapes their own developmental process in walking efficiently. Additionally, actively engaging in the practice of walking is related to individual differences in language and cognitive development, since walking creates new opportunities to engage with other people, holding objects while being mobile and encountering new objects and experiences. Principle number 2. Relationships and experiences are the primary ways development occurs. Infants and toddlers develop through adult-child and child-child relationships, and through exploring their world, both alone and with others. Sensitive, respectful, and stable relationships with caregivers serve as the foundation for the healthy development of infants and toddlers. These relationships are the starting place for language, social, emotional, and cognitive development. And these relationships are literally shaping the structure of the developing brain. Principle number 3. Development is complex and transactional. Children and their contexts shape each other in ongoing and cyclical ways, referred to as the transactional model of development. For example, each child is raised in a cultural context that shapes all aspects of development, but the child's particular familial or cultural context may also affect the larger community context over time in complex ways. The same environmental factors can affect different children and families in different ways. Likewise, different environmental factors can have a similar effect on children. For example, toddlers from lower SES homes typically are exposed to less language. However, this is not always the case, as even amongst all low SES families, some toddlers are exposed to an abundance of language while others are exposed to much less. The figure on the screen shows how the number of words toddlers hear in one day differs greatly amongst families. In the graph, each vertical bar represents one child's total amount of words they are exposed to in one day. So even though all these toddlers were from low SES families, there were significant differences in the amount of language they heard from caregivers. Principle number 4. Development and learning occur in multiple systems or contexts. Infants and toddlers develop as the result of the direct interactions they have with the people in their world, family, friends, non-parental caregivers, as well as the indirect influences, including community resources, policies and parental work settings, state child care policies, and many more physical, social, and interactional environments. Within these multiple systems and contexts, parents are children's first and most influential caregivers, and their primary sources of knowledge. The quality of these various contexts can greatly influence the developmental trajectories of infants and toddlers. Principle number 5. All areas of development are interrelated. During the infant and toddler period, the domains of development, such as physical development, cognitive development, and social development, are interrelated. Development in one domain influences development in other domains. For example, an infant's motor ability to sit independently is related to cognitive and language development. As a result, developmental domains cannot be considered in isolation from each other. The dynamic interaction of all areas of development must be considered when planning for and interacting with all children, especially infants and toddlers. Principle number 6. There are vast individual differences in rates of development among children. Each child has a unique rate of growth and development. Some children may have a developmental delay or disability requiring early intervention or adaptations to be successful in achieving a particular developmental outcome. Furthermore, early forming individual differences are important because they are often associated with positive outcome benefits. For example, achieving motor milestones earlier, sitting or walking, is related to short-term growth in language abilities. While milestone charts can provide approximates for what is considered typical development, recent research into early individual differences highlights the important role caregivers have for providing high-quality, positive care and educational environments for infants and toddlers. Principle number 7. Birth to age 3 is a distinct developmental period that is the foundation for later development. Periods of rapid growth and change, such as during infancy, offer the greatest opportunities for experiences or interventions to influence the course of development. The relationships and experiences that influence development from birth through age 3 can have a profound and lasting impact. For example, experiences during infancy affect the architecture of the brain or the way the brain is quote-unquote wired, as well as how the brain works, including how fast it thinks, how it makes connections and remembers, how it pays attention to information, and how it forms ideas, concepts, and understandings. Infancy and toddlerhood is characterized by rapid growth and development of concepts, attitudes, skills, and abilities that are foundational for current development, later success in school, and lifelong learning.